On the phone, I told you that I'm kind of starting this new series. I don't know. Did I tell you the name?
No.
So
Let's have the name.
I wanted to call it Encourage. Now you'll appreciate this because you like movies and all things like that. So it was just a play on Entourage.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the logo and everything will actually look pretty much the same. And the saying behind it is an entourage of entrepreneurial advice. So plays on both.
I love that.
And really, all we're trying to accomplish is just to share stories with other entrepreneurs, things that went awesome, things that didn't go so awesome, and just be more raw and real and vulnerable so that maybe other entrepreneurs can learn from successes and failures and hopefully better themselves as they come along. So obviously you don't need an introduction.
I probably do. I'd add, I really love your name, that Encourage. Like, if you think about business, another little play on that is courage.
Yeah.
You need encourage.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have courage. Courage to start a business, courage to be in business. Courage is a huge thing you need because you have to have the courage to fail, actually. The courage to be willing to put it all on the line, even if you fail.
I think that's probably something most people don't even think about.
Is failing?
Well, just how many failures the typical business person actually goes through before they even find one faction of success.
Totally agree. I think you have many failures. Like here at the store, we fail with probably 9 out of 10 of the ideas we try.
Yeah.
Maybe more. And then when we find one good idea that hits, it's like, okay, let's go with that. Until we'll just hit that horse till it's whip it till it dies. But the 9 out of 10 ideas fail, and you don't cry over it.
No.
And you don't get attached to it.
No.
You just move on and next idea.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, I think a lot of businesses or entrepreneurs, especially ones starting out, they find it sometimes hard to relate to. Well, case in point, right? How long have you been around?
Well, if you talk
you have other businesses, right? But
yeah, I've been around for 54 years. But I've been around the King of Trade since 1990, so that would be 30 years.
Holy Moses.
And and the business has been around longer. I started working here for my father-in-law.
Oh.
And we, at that time there was him, myself, and my wife. And so, when it's grown.
I didn't know that. See, I learned something new today.
Yeah, my father-in-law is the king of trade.
No way.
He's 83 now, 82. If he's ever watching, he's probably not. He is a great guy and one of my best friends and an inspiration to me. Tremendous human being.
Well, that's obviously awesome. You guys, it's like basically a family business then, really.
Yeah, for sure. And when I started working for him, he had these great big giant ideas of, like in this building, for example, we didn't have the money to move into the building we're in. We just didn't have the money. In fact, almost anything we've ever done, we haven't had enough money. And he says, let's build this giant skylight. It'll just open up the store and it'll be so much better in here. And I'm like, well, look at Lou, we don't have the money for this. He's like, yeah, we'll find the money. It's a great idea. We'll find the money. It'll change things. It'll make it better. And we did, and we found the money, and
you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, going into just a point, one of the things I've been noticing, especially when I see interviews with other entrepreneurs, is again the relatableness, and it's hard because someone starting out can say, "Well, Hunter, you've been in business for 30 years, like you made it, right? You have the business, you have the income, all of the things that kind of go around with the perception that it's like, hey, he's here."
Yeah, it's easy for you to say.
Right. But I get why it's unrelatable because, sometimes people that are starting a business, like even just as you were mentioning earlier, there really is no cash or very little, and how to get that off the ground. And so I think a lot of people just don't understand or don't know where we started.
Agreed.
Right? Like how it actually came to life, and what they're seeing today is absolutely not what it was. right?
Oh, but you want me to talk to that a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
love that.
because absolutely, when I'll kind of fast forward a bit in the store's history when we moved into this building, which was in the late '90s, and that was a big leap for us, and it was kind of a transition period too for my father-in-law owning the
Yeah.
company to my wife and I, but he was there with us and still the main owner. But we decided to move to this building. It was a giant leap. And so for a year and a half, 18 months,
Yeah.
the three of us didn't take a paycheck. Like I literally had every credit card maxed out. I mean, I was going to the bank making mortgage payments with my credit card. Like we were just
Wow.
absolutely
Wow.
flat broke, trying to get it because we knew we had this vision of
Yeah.
what we could do.
Well, you were willing to risk it all.
Absolutely. Like when you say all in, we were all in.
Yeah.
Because if it failed, we would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But we believed in it all. My wife and my father-in-law and myself so much that we were willing to do that. And the ironic part is later on, once you open and it looks so great and people are coming and it's really busy, and then someone comes over to you and says, "Hey, this move was kind of a no-brainer, huh?" And you're like, yeah, it was. It was just nothing to it.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. And then even, through the years, you have these ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
The economy, just different things change in the business world, and you have ups and downs. We just went through it with COVID. COVID has been so hard on our company, changing the way we have to do business. We've discussed it with our managers, my managers. We discuss how we're going to do this, and we always talk about we need to transition our company for the post-COVID world
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah.
Because if we don't change, you can't just go, oh, well, this used to work. You have to find out what works in the future. And so something that was a success might be a failure.
That happens lots.
Absolutely. But if you don't transition and change, then you're going to die.
Yep.
It's the ability to be able to look in the mirror and go, hey, I got to do something different. We got to change things.
You actually said something that, and I don't know if maybe you'll feel the same way, but I used to always hate the word growth. But I always related it to money because people would say if you're not growing, you're dying. And so it used to bug me because I always used to say like, well, at some point, like you can't always grow, and so it kind of bugged me. And fast forward, right, in years of learning and business and whatever, I'm like, no. Yeah, that's a part of it, but really growth means how are you evolving? How are you changing, adjusting to, impacts of the economy, like you just said, COVID, which was pretty recent, obviously, and just all of the things, staff, culture, product, service, you name it. So you're really having to navigate a ton of things. Like
Yes.
it's not just I started a business, this is my idea, and that's all it's ever gonna be. Would you agree with that? Or
I
no?
agree
Or-
100%. All those cliches you hear, like if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
They're true.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But to stand back and think about it, like you're dealing with all these different factors. Many of them are out of your control, like minimum wage.
Yeah.
A change in minimum wage in my business that affected it because we had
Yeah.
a number of employees at minimum wage, and we still do have a few at minimum wage,
Yeah.
but it just adjusts, and it's something you have to deal with. And so when I was first doing, like managing the company, I used to look at things kind of as I got this, man, there's a crisis. Oh, this is a crisis coming. Oh, what am I going to do here? Then one day I kind of realized like, hey, this is what you do.
Yeah.
This is your job. And so then it's almost like, hey man, throw that at me. You got any more?
Yeah.
Like, they're coming. Yeah, I got more. I can handle this.
Yeah.
It's and it is stressful,
Yeah.
but you handle that stress better and look at it as a challenge rather than a mountain to climb. It's a mountain to overcome and conquer.
It's just taking the next step, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like keeping your head and being able to resolve situations.
Oh yeah.
And,
Because I don't think people realize, like you say, some of the hardships that you go through and what you're carrying, oftentimes in silence, on your shoulders.
For
Right?
sure. You know what? I'll share a couple things with you.
Yeah.
One, like, yeah, when especially let's talk about debt, because you get into trouble,
Yeah.
or debt is a really tough one,
Yeah.
and especially lately with COVID. I find, like, my experience over the years is you phone people,
Yeah.
as you know this,
Yeah.
you phone people, you talk to them, you explain to them your situation,
Yeah.
and they're willing to work with you.
Absolutely.
And then you get them what you can,
Yeah.
as you can,
Yeah.
and you keep your word, and
Yeah.
you keep in communication, and that way people are willing to work with you. Usually,
100%.
They want to help you.
100%.
But if you just run and hide your head in the sand and go, boy, I can't afford to do this, I can't pay this guy, well, phone the guy, phone him up, and say, look, this is where I'm at. And it takes courage, again, to do those things.
I relate.
But if you don't do it, that's when you get in trouble. As long as you have a good line of communication. So yeah, I think handling some of those situations are really important. The debt part of it,
Oh, yeah.
and because there's going to be debt, there's going to be ups and downs, and it's easy in the good times. Like, we've had really good times where it's like, you know what, let's go blow some money.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
You're like, oh, I want this and want that, and then you look back and you go, man, I could have used that.
I should have
Use
just
that money.
tightened that up a little
I
bit.
should have just tightened it up. And so I do think I'll share another thing with you, because you're talking about people saying, it's easy for you to say. You're there. You've made it. Like, well, none of us have made it.
I
None
love
of us
that.
have made
I
it.
love
We're all
that.
trying to get there.
Yep.
And that it's the journey. It's not the.
There isn't a finish line.
No.
And not
No.
in business. Like,
You talk to a billionaire, they're trying to be a multi-billionaire. Like, it just
even
doesn't
outside of
matter.
money though, right? Like, even outside of money, it's just you're always just trying to get to some other level. Like you say, just working towards the next thing. So it's
You're trying
nonstop.
to, you know what, Levi, you're exactly right. You're trying. I do every morning. I like everybody has their own thing to do. I pray. I pray and I ask to be better than I was the day before. To be a better person.
pretty awesome.
To be a better father. To be a better husband. To be a better businessman. To be a better boss. To be a better friend. Just to be a little bit better. If I can be 0.1% better than I was yesterday, imagine where I can be in 10, 15 years. So that's what I try to do. And people, you have a dream of what you want, and people are going to stop you. And my wife told me something one time. She's a smart woman. I had gone to the bank to get a loan to do this project, and the bank just flat out said, no, you can't do that. And I went home and told my wife, they said you can't do that. And she says, Hunter, what they meant to say was they couldn't do that.
Right.
They couldn't do it. You can do it. They just can't do it.
I love that.
So I'm like, you know what? You're right. I can do it. And just because that person or that person doesn't believe in it doesn't mean that I can't do it. I can do it. If I want it bad enough, I will get it.
I'm in the service industry, obviously. You have products to sell, but I 100% relate to that. One of my biggest challenges was financing. I could never get financing, ever. No one, no bank, nobody would ever come and say, hey, like, I like where your business is headed or your ideas. What do you need? Because there was really nothing to secure their loan on, right? And I always remember that. It's like, don't tell me that I can't do it. I'll find a way to do it. I'll make it work. Was it harder? Did it take longer? Yeah. but yeah, like you said, the banks just mean they're not willing to participate.
Yeah. Well, I like
at that moment. Anyway.
I like what you said there, because it's almost the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who when you tell them they can't do something, they go like, really? Really? I can't, eh? Watch me. And that's kind of, it almost is the definition of an entrepreneur. Nowadays, you have to just be willing to do it all, to try it all. And, and part of that is being willing to do anything in your company. Like, there is not a job in this building that I have not done.
Right.
Like, nothing. Cleaning toilets.
Yep.
My wife and I used to stay, we were at 2 a.m. one time, we were working, doing some CDs and stuff, and I looked over and my wife's crying. It's like 2 a.m. I looked at her, are you okay? She's like, I think we should go home. We've been working since 7 a.m. and you've been there literally like 20 hours and that's what you got to be willing to do to make your business succeed. And
I'm going to ask you what was kind of like your deciding factor for being an entrepreneur, but I'll share with you mine.
yeah, please.
And it was actually here in Lethbridge. So do you remember A&B Sound?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right where I guess is Auto Value it's there now?
Yeah.
So
On Third
A&B
Ave.
Sound was there. I was a young kid. I was, infatuated with music, right? CDs were the big thing, right? They were just really kind of making a big splash at the time. And I wanted nothing more than to work in that department. They had TVs and everything else, but I wanted to work in that music department. Man, I go back like every week, and I wish I could remember the manager's name, and I can't. But no, Levi, like I can't hire you. Like you're too young, because I believe I was 12. And he's like, I can't hire you, man. I can't do it. And I go back the week later. Just what can I do to get in the door? I can't hire you, man. Like there's nothing here for you. And I go back and I'll clean the toilet. What do you need? Like I'll do the floors. Like what can I do? I can't hire you. So finally I go back the one final time and he's like, okay, I'll make you a deal. And I'm guessing he agreed because, he could kind of pay me under the table as a kid. He's like, the parking lot, you see the parking lot? And it's a pretty big L-shaped parking lot because they used to do all the audio installs in the back. And so he's like, winter was over and it was covered in, sand or salt or whatever for the winter time. He's like, you can sweep the parking lot. And I was like, without hesitation, I was like, sure. He's like, I'll give you $5 an hour and you can sweep the parking lot. I said, okay, I'll do it. And anyway, not to lengthen the story, but the funny part is my instant reaction wasn't like, how long is this going to take? Or, man, like, I'm going to struggle with this. My instant reaction is I called a friend and I said, hey, buddy, how'd you like to make $250? And he said to me, what? I'm like, listen, I got this gig. Like, if two of us do it, we'll get it done way faster. I'll give you $250. I'll make $250. We'll get this done in like a day instead of like 2 days. And he's like, sure. And that's kind of the story when I was like, you know what? I want to employ people. I want to help create a business of some kind in the future that I can help create some form of local job. And that was kind of like the first kiss, if you will, of entrepreneurship.
That's an
for me.
awesome story because you're a natural. You have to do it. It's almost like part of you. Yeah. Like what I'll tell you, my story for the King of Trade, anyways, is really about a boy and a girl.
Okay.
Like what happens is my father-in-law owns this store, and my wife, who wasn't my wife, was working at this store, and I was working construction. I'm a journeyman carpenter, which it seems like another lifetime ago, but I was a carpenter working for Get Cake Construction. We were working in Gull Gardens Park, and the King of Trade was down the street here on 5th Street in a different location. And I met this girl, and it's my lunchtime, and I'd come down and see her. And then on my days off, I'm like, well, I'll hang around and I'll help do stuff, and I'll just... And then I'm like, what if you organized all these cassette tapes? And I asked Carol's dad, who is now my father-in-law, hey, would you care if I did this for you? And he's like, no, go ahead. And then you're helping a customer on the sales floor. And then, next thing you know, it just sort of evolved. And he's like, he says to me out one day, you're really good at this. You're natural at this. And you should come work for me. I don't want to work forever. I need to retire at some point. Oh. And you could, and I'm like, well, wow, I'm doing a completely different field. I never really thought about it. It wasn't work for me because I was trying to get this girl. Yeah. And,
that was where you had a goal in mind at that point.
Yeah. So I ended up getting the girl. And that's the good news story in which, we together, her and I got the store, built the store with my father-in-law, but better than the store. I got her. Without her, I'd be, who knows where I'd even be.
It'd be a different.
In a ditch somewhere, probably. Like, not kidding. Really, I would be like, what is he doing? I needed her to get my focus in life and to have a purpose for that. So yeah, the story's about a guy and a girl.
That's pretty awesome. I really like that, actually. Yeah, and you got the girl, and
Guy
you got to
meets
build
girl,
a business out
guy
of it.
loses girl, guy wins girl. Yeah, and the business is just a side product of that. But it's something we enjoyed. So my wife, she hasn't worked in the store for 20 years. We made the decision for her to stay home with our kids. But our kids are raised now, and so she's coming back to work this fall.
Nice.
And I'm pretty excited about that because she's a huge asset here.
Well, she knows it inside.
She knows.
out.
She
Yeah.
was born in the business, so she knows more than she's forgot more than I know, I think,
Wow.
in dealing with people and dealing, because it really doesn't matter. My father-in-law used to always say this to me. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You know, if it could be a CD, a DVD, or a Blu-ray, or, the next things that come along, it doesn't matter. Like thousands of years ago, they were selling camels.
Yeah.
And it just, they're selling something.
There's
You
always
really-
something of commerce.
Yeah, and if you treat people right, that's kind of our business strategy, is it just overly treat people incredibly well. Just try to treat people even better than you want to be treated yourself. That's the business plan. Just be super nice to people.
Yeah.
Is that a crazy plan?
No, because I think sometimes people think about. Actually, I've had this conversation frequently lately. A lot of people chase the money.
Yeah, bad mistake.
Right? A lot of people are like, how do I make more money? How do I do this? How do I do that? Instead of just, like you said, like, how do I make the customer experience better? How do I make it easier for them to make a decision that makes sense for them? How do I help them?
Absolutely. Trying to help people. I totally agree with you. If you treat people right. And having said that, I'm sure I have enemies out there. I hate to say that because I wasn't put on earth to make enemies. And you try to help everybody, but there's always a customer that you just cannot satisfy, no matter what you do. It's an unreasonable. You
just can't. You just can't.
It just happens, and so that's just the way it is. But if you talk about a normal situation, and you just try to really, really do the best you can for a customer, and I mean, you'll make money off of it, hopefully.
Yeah.
You might not always make money off you're going to lose on some deals.
Yeah.
But if you continue and you build that relationship with them, and you build that trust with them, what happens? It's like a little river of money. You get this little river of businesses coming, and you build it and build the river and build the river, and there comes a point actually when you almost can't stop it.
It becomes a machine.
Yeah. If you said, I want to stop the river, I'm going to hold the water back, you can't.
Yep.
Because people are coming.
Yep.
Because you've built that trust and you've built that up. And it takes time to do it, but that's what it is. And it doesn't come from the desire for money.
No.
It comes for the passion to help people and to get them what they need and to try to help them in their lives in one way or another. Get them what they're looking for.
So, obvious question, knowing now and going through all of the stuff you've gone through in 30 years, you said?
Well, 30 years at this,
So 30 years here, if you could tell yourself, the guy who started day one, what some of the things you know now, what would some of those things be?
Well, how many, is this 12 episodes?
No.
Because you could write,
I know.
I could write a book on what to tell myself to do or not to do.
I'm sure you have a couple that probably are the pinnacle ones that you're like, man, I wish I would have done that out of the gate.
Yeah, I probably, one of the things out of the gate, I think, is lack of confidence, lack of self-confidence. And I'm a pretty confident guy.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, you're confident in yourself. And people have told me that.
Yeah.
But there's always inside that self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
There always is. It's there. You know what? I'm a phony. They don't know me. I'm not really that smart. I'm not that brave. I'm not.
You question yourself constantly.
Absolutely.
I do the same.
And do you?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, good, because I'm being pretty honest.
No,
here.
I seriously do.
Yeah, you question yourself. But you really got to, that's where I get back to this, prayer or a meditation or whatever someone wants to do. If you can do that every day and just tell yourself, you know what? don't listen to that little, nagging of doubt.
Yeah.
Don't listen to it. Just take that doubt and crush it up and throw it away. You're a great person. You can do great things. You can help people and treat people good. It's amazing if you treat people good.
Oh, totally.
What happens?
Yeah.
It's astounding. I own a building across the road, the Oliver building. I love the building. It's a great building. And I've spent many hours, you know, we renovated it from the ground up. And so you kind of fall in love with this building. But as I think about the building and what I love most about it,
Yeah.
is not the building itself. It's the people in there. The businesses that have come. It's a building full of entrepreneurs. You can
Yeah.
interview every one of them.
Well, how many you have in there?
There's 16 tenants in there.
Oh.
And they're all people who have a passion and a dream for their business, and most of them are the only people working in their business, them and their partner,
Yeah.
maybe one employee, small businesses, and they are just phenomenal people. And
That's
so
awesome.
that's what I love about it, is not the bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
It's the people that are in there and who they are.
Well, you created a space that they could take their first step.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives me an advantage too, because I've been in their shoes.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've been in their shoes, go without money for 18 months. You know,
People don't know what that's like, though.
man, that's tough. It really is tough.
People
it's
don't
hard
know what
to-
that's like.
It's easy to give up, but
Oh, yeah.
you just can't give up because you believe in yourself and you keep at it. Anyway, so that's something I think the people are always more important. It goes the same with my employees. Like now there's like 12 staff members here, and they are the king of trade.
Yeah.
Like I could joke that my father-in-law is the king of trade. People say I'm the king of trade. No, I'm not.
Yep.
Actually, these guys working here, and me, all of us together, we are. It's the culture that we've built.
Yes.
Of how you treat people, what you do, you work hard, you have fun, you laugh at yourself a little bit. You know, we make
But it
mistakes.
takes time to get there.
Oh, for sure.
Like
For sure.
I can relate to you on that front. You know, I started by myself, then one employee, you know, little by little growing it. I mean, I'm not a big business by any
Well, you
stretch
sure
of the
are,
imagination, but at the end of the day, like it took me, and again, going back to kind of something that we talked about before, what people see versus the timeline, it is now taken, just in Outrageous alone, not two businesses I tried to start before that. Outrageous alone, it's taken 14 years for me to be comfortable enough that I can do this. And what I mean by this is like that I want to be in the business and I want to be working in it, but I don't have to, because my staff are so good at what they do that they don't need the micromanagement of it all. They don't need someone looking over their shoulders. They're building the relationships with customers. They're the ones feeding the ideas. And yeah, that didn't happen overnight at all. At all.
You know what? Your company's actually pretty impressive, and you have to build that when people are working and will do their job, whether you're there or not. That's when you have some success there.
Yep.
I think when you were telling that, I totally relate.
Well, your staff are great.
Yeah, you know, we went, my wife and I, my whole family, we went on this holiday for like a month. This is probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We went on a holiday in the wintertime for a month. We went down to the States, Disneyland, just had a great family trip. And I'm in communication with work, making sure everything's good. And I came back and the store was better than I left it. Like the guys wanted to surprise us. Mm-hmm. And man, like
Pretty special time,
it almost breaks me up because they
That's
just
a special time.
you don't do that for money
No.
either.
No.
They did that because they love their job and they care about my wife and I.
Yeah.
And they put all this effort in, and I walked in and was like, wow, like, what did you guys do? How come you're not doing that when I'm here? And so that's when I felt like, man, that's a success for me. Whether customers appreciate it or not, I'm sure they did, but I appreciated it, and I saw what the staff had done, and it tells me that it's more than just a job. And it has to be more than just a job. Otherwise, I tell guys all the time, like, if you don't like it here or don't want to be here, don't come.
Yeah.
Like, there's other people who will come. Like, go do something you enjoy. Go do something you love. Better yourself. Don't come here and be miserable, because you can feel that when you walk in a building, you can feel that negativeness.
Oh, yeah.
If you can, like, I'll never forget this. One day I was going to the post office and I walked by this lady was coming out of the post office, and I didn't really notice her, but she walked by me and I was just like, ooh, like the feeling of anger. Like you could feel her anger. I don't know what happened. I don't know her story, and I hope that things got resolved for her.
Yeah.
But you could actually feel the anger in the air, and I never forgot that. People can feel if you've got attention in your workplace.
I heard a saying not too long ago, but perfectly in line with what you're saying. It said, again, being if you're a business owner, I can tolerate, not tolerate, I'm paraphrasing, I guess,
Sure.
but it was I can deal with someone who wants to be here and happy. I can deal with someone who doesn't want to be here because they're not happy, but I can't deal with someone who stays here and is unhappy.
Yes.
And it was kind of in relation to like
That's perfect.
what the talk like, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's just they're unhappy for whatever reason, but that unhappiness and like the toxicity that can bring then to the rest of the group. So those are the ones that you got to be like, hey, this isn't the right place for you.
No, exactly. You can't have that toxicity.
Yeah.
You just can't have it. That's a big one. We've just talked about a number of things. You have to be willing to put it all on the line. You have to have the right attitude. You have to have some passion for it. You have to not be negative or not have that toxicity. I think there's, to add a few more of that to maybe the book I'd write to my 30-year younger self with way more hair and thinner, and you have to be consistent. The store opens at 10 o'clock every day, not 10:15, not 11 o'clock. You need to be consistent. You need to try to be consistent with your product, your pricing, how you treat customers. You have to treat your top premium customer the same as your low customer. You have to treat people the same. I am lucky in the business that I'm in that I deal with. I remember dealing with a guy off the street, a street person. I'm dealing with him where he wanted to buy something, and I helped him out, and we got this solved. And he's going out the door, and I turned, and at the time it was the mayor.
Okay.
Mayor Carpenter is who it was.
Okay.
He's standing there, and I said, "Oh, hi." He says, "Hi, hey, do you have any record needles for this kind of record player?" And I was able to help him, and I thought, here I am, I'm dealing with the mayor. And just 3 minutes ago, I was dealing with this guy that's living on the street.
Wow.
And you have to treat them all the same and treat everybody with respect. And until they do something that warrants them not being treated, like to ask them to leave. But until then, treat everybody with respect.
But heck, that goes both ways. Even the best customer, quote unquote, you might have to fire them from time to time too.
You do. That happens. That happens. Well, but I think that's a big thing: consistency, and not just consistency with customers, but being open. And so it's more important as an employee. If I have two employees, one's a great employee, but I don't know if he's going to be there in the morning or not. And I have one that's just okay, but I can count on him. That's my guy.
That's your guy.
Unfortunately, that's the way life works.
But you can coach that guy.
Absolutely.
That's the guy you can. That's the guy you can train. The other guy, it's not that he's untrainable, but it's unlikely that he's trainable, because he's already kind of set in those ways where it's like, well, I'm going to do what I want.
He needs to grow up. That guy needs to grow up.
He needs some life lessons.
Because you gotta show up on time, and you gotta be there, and you gotta do what you say you're gonna do. If you tell somebody you're gonna call them, then call them. If you tell them you're gonna get back to them, get back to them. If you tell them you'll be there at this time, be there at that time, or at the very least, call them and explain why you can't be. But you have to be reliable. You have to be reliable and consistent with your people. Reliable is so important. People have to rely on you.
Well, Lethbridge in particular is probably the most in the aspect of wanting to work with reliability, I would say. Because I think in like technological life now, people are buying across the globe. But I find that in Lethbridge, people want reliability. Like, have you been around a bit? Are you building trust? And it doesn't mean that you have to be around for a long time, but enough where that you're showing that, you're not giving up that you're not just full in the towel tomorrow, so that they can build that relationship with you. I found that a lot over the course of doing my business, and the times that I would get told no was generally because I hadn't built the trust yet. I hadn't shown them that I could, or that my team could. So that's probably one thing I would have told myself before too, is, just get to know people. Not everything's a sale.
Right.
And I struggle with that to this day. I consider myself really professional. It's kind of actually I don't know if it's weird or not. You can tell me what you think. I struggle building relationships with people on a one-to-one level because I'm so, especially like in business, because I'm always thinking about how I can help them and like data and, how do we help them grow their business? And so a lot of times I struggle to just be able to be like, hey, I'm just going to stop in and say hi, because my mind is going, I just want to stop in and tell them, like, check this out, check this out, check this out. And it really hit home, honestly, a few weeks ago. I made a call to someone that, we're not super friendly, but we've worked together. And similar to for today, I said, hey, I was vague in my message. And I said, hey, do you mind if I take you for coffee or we meet up? I have an idea I want to run by you. And it was really about doing an interview with him. But obviously my text message was vague. And his immediate response, like he responded in 5 minutes. And he's like, thanks, Levi, I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm all good. And right at that moment, I was like, man, that's actually how like people are interpreting me. Like they're interpreting me as the guy that's just, it only calls to make the sale. And to me, it's not about the sale, but that's the way it's coming across. Like, to me, it's more like, I just want to help you. Like, I care. And yeah, obviously to help you, there's a monetary transaction that often happens, but I didn't realize that people didn't see me for just somebody that wanted to say hi.
Well, I think you're being a little hard on yourself, but I agree. I understand what you're saying. But those times, even when you're, I think you would probably agree, even the times where people aren't positive,
Yeah.
you're laying the groundwork for future things.
Yeah.
And once you communicate to that guy that, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything today. I want to talk to you. I want to interview you because I want to pick your brain. But those things can lead into future business. And that's why sometimes a customer comes in, you can't help them, but you try and you try to do what you can. But maybe the next time,
Yeah.
so it's like, hey, thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for doing this. Next time, hopefully you'll think of us again. Or when you do this, maybe you'll think of us.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Hunter. It's awesome. I guess to end, is there any last parting words of advice for someone that might be actually watching this video?
If there is anybody watching, I don't know. Man, like I wish I had a magic wand. So many times I think if I had a magic wand, I could just like fix this problem or fix that. But there is no magic wand.
Yeah.
Instead of that, what you have to do is roll up your sleeves and get to work. And that would be...
That's common sense. That's
would
pretty
be
common sense, yeah.
My advice to myself 30 years ago would be, however hard you're working, like work a little harder, try a little harder, talk even nicer to people.
Yeah.
Just improve yourself that little bit every day and try to be better. Improve your company, improve your relationship with your customers, with your employees. Just try to learn from each experience and do better.
I don't think anybody could ask for better advice than that.
I don't know. There probably is some, but it's good. I'm grateful to you for giving me this opportunity. It made my day.
Well, like I said,
it's humbling because really, I don't think anybody will watch, and there's probably nobody that wants to listen to what I have to say. They're
much less me. Who am I? You've been around for 30 years.
Yeah, I don't know. People really know who you are too. But the fact that you'd even ask me is pretty humbling because thank you.
No, you're a good man, Hunter. I've always had a lot of respect for you, honestly, and
rock and roll.
Yeah,
right?
I like that. I like that. Well, that's on your voicemail. I like that.
Yeah.